Hey, good morning. I think it's the 29th, Monday, and it's July. Well, here's something I wanted to say a little bit this morning, thinking I've had on my second cup of coffee and had breakfast. But I'm right here in Ohio at the Harrison State Forest, and the campground is called Trail Rider. Well, when I started out and left next Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, I went up and stayed 3 nights at Daniel Boone National Forest, a Meadows something, I can't even remember, but stayed there 3 nights, and then I pulled out that next morning, and I ended up going to what they call Tucky. I mean, not Tucky, daggone it, uh, Buzzard. Oh, God. Sound bad. I don't have no brain. Anyway, Buzzard Roose Trail, and it was in Indiana, and I don't remember the name of the forest right this minute, but anyhow, I liked it. It was good, and I stayed there 3 nights. Then I left there, and I got here. It was almost too dark to put the tent up, and because it's all the way from the bottom corner of Indiana all the way up, and the opposite whole side coming next Pennsylvania in Ohio. Well, here's some things that I've noticed along the way, and the last time I took a trip in 2020 is unless you've done something like me and go and stay at these places and go camp at free places, and you'll find out. And just look under the bridges when you go by through big cities and things. Um, we got a lot of homeless people in this here United States. And I know when I went on my 2020 trip, I didn't say nothing. I just tried to tell all the good things, and that's what I've been doing so far on this trip. I never try to tell the bad things. But the thing is, there's a lot of homeless people, and when you talk to people that's not homeless, that's doing well, um, and I'm one of them until you get out here like this, it's easy to make excuses. Well, they're hooked on drugs and all. Well, some of them probably are, but all of them's not. And they're happy, some of them, but some of them has just lost their homes, and and I just kind of get tired of hearing people make up excuses why these other people's homeless. I'm a self-made person, blah blah blah. But I mean, if you get to talking with these people, and some of them's lying to you, yeah, and some of them's telling the truth, yeah. You go to church, some of them's lying to you, some of them's telling the truth. You go to a bar, 99% of them's lying to you. I mean, they talk some, but I'm talking about once they get a few in them. Oh, if they're drunk, they're telling the truth. That doesn't mean nothing. They got that brain going, buddy. But what I mean is, what I'm trying to get at, there's a lot of bull in some of their talk, but then there's a lot of people that's not doing that. And when you see somebody that's living out of their car, they're trying to make their ends meet, and they're trying to carry it with a smile, and they're not always on drugs, and it's not always their fault they're in the position they're in. And I've talked with a lot of them and let them talk a while and stuff, and you'll find out they're not stupid people. You people, oh, this is wrong with them or that's wrong with them or whatever. And some of them do have mental capability problems. I'm right there with them, but anyway, I don't want to talk a lot about everybody I've met, but I remember meeting some people. Well, I was right there camping next Charleston in South Carolina, and there was a man and a woman. They were a young couple, and they had an old rusted out Dodge pickup pulling an old small camper, compared to nowadays where everybody buys the big new ones, you know. But and I was there several days, and they went to work every morning. They'd got a job right there next in Charleston, working in a hotel, and the woman was cleaning rooms, and the guy was the one that carried all the linens to all the rooms and stuff like that. He was the call boy, you know, to the housekeepers, and they'd come in every day and live their life on that camping. And what it was, they didn't have enough money living up north to pay to live, and so they had to step out. Sometimes when you get down to almost nothing, you say, well, how did they get that camper? Well, if you saw that camper, it was probably gave to them. How'd they get that truck? Well, almost everybody's too ashamed to drive a truck that's so damn rusty that it's all the way up the sides that when they roll the windows down, you can see the windows through the doors from the outside. I mean, you know, as long as the motor's running good, and you know, and it doesn't matter what it looks like. And but to some people it does. You know, you get one every 2 years. They got to keep up with looking great. And but that's how poor people get their stuff, and it works, and they made it. And I saw they come in every evening, and they were happy, and all they were doing was trying to bank enough money. They were staying on campsites that you can stay 14 days. Then they could move down to another one. Well, really, a lot of times, if it's the same national forest, you're not supposed to be staying there. You know, it's you're supposed to go to a whole nother national forest. But I got a feeling that some of those people that work the grounds, you know, come through and check license plates or whatever they do, I think long as they see it's kind of kept up and clean and I think they let a little bit of that slide, because they probably stopped and talked with them. I know Mike Vaughn down there, and he's one that rides through and stuff. And I ain't saying he shoots brakes. I'm not trying to get him in trouble for his job, but what I'm saying is I think he's a pretty cool guy. You know, I've coon hunted with him in way back years ago and stuff, and he's just a level-headed guy. He's a good-hearted guy, but he can't lose his job over anything. Don't get me wrong. But anyhow, what I'm saying is, so whenever I pulled out to leave, they were going to work, and I had a few things, you know, that I had for camping for fun, you know, that I just took to make a show. And so I hung cheese, crackers, and wine in two plastic wine glasses and hung it on their camper door when I pulled out. And they probably didn't even know it was me. I hope they used it and sat back like they do in the evenings when they'd get home and relax with it. But and then, you know, I've just that's just one, and I've met a couple that's older lady taking care of up here. That was in Indiana when I was camping at Buzzard. Daggone, here I go again. Buzzard Roost, not Buzzards with an S, Roost. And they came in and parked, and it was getting nighttime, and she was trying to get the gas hooked up to her little stove. And I was talking with a guy named Russ and Angie that's just going on a long trip across country, and I was talking with them, and she come over and asked could we hook that up. She didn't know how, and so we walked over there together and hooked it up for her, and she thanked us. And I thought it was a husband and wife at the time, and it was dark, and I couldn't even really see what they looked like. But then the next day, I ended up talking with her and the guy, and I found out that the guy is very mentally challenged. I mean, he's got a good memory in a way, and but anyhow, she was over there combing his hair and cutting it and stuff one day, and I didn't go over or nothing, but I'm just saying I was kind of watching and I was figuring it out. But I talked with her, and they just lost her house the 28th of June, and that's her brother, and she's taking care of him, and she does draw a check for taking care of him. Well, everybody says that's the first thing people say whenever you see somebody in bad shape. Well, they can get help from the government and blah blah blah. Well, she's not all up there either, and she bought some Irish potatoes, ended up giving them to Russ and Angie on the other side of me, but what happened? They were living in her mother's house, and her mother's Social Security, I guess, was paying the. Maybe they were renting it. I don't know. They just said home, but well, her mom passed away. There weren't enough coming in to take care of paying for a house, utility bills, and all that. So they're living out of a. I would kept calling it a Jeep, but Russ that was standing beside me, he said that it was like the cheapest Ford, whatever, that looks kind of like a Blazer or something. And it wasn't brand new, but it wasn't old. But so it makes you say, well, that looks so nice that how could they be homeless? And but sometimes when a person gets down to a certain point and they know they can't go no further, they kind of shed everything they got to get one more try stab at it. And so when I talked with her a little bit, he was right. Her brother, he's there, but he's not all up there, and she's there too. But she let me know that he was a little challenged, and that she promised her mom that she would take care of him. And the thing was, at one time they must have had a little more money because they owned some horses, and that's all she could really talk about is how great these horses were. And she was also trying to pay storage because they're not her horses. I guess they're hers, but she was paying for somebody else to take care of them at this point, and that can run into money if you got two horses and somebody else is feeding and taking care of them. But she said on her mom's dying bed that her mom told her, well, I forgot her name, but not to lose those horses. Well, my grandpa on the dying bed gave me some words of wisdom. I went in, different ones of us went in, and when I got there, I mean, he's on morphine, he had cancer, and he's all but dying. I mean, he only had a couple more weeks to live. And his words of wisdom, I figured, was going to be this great thing. And it is true, this day and time, what he said. He said, son, don't ever raise hogs and never build grape vineyards. That was his words of wisdom. And it's kind of true. I mean, for this day and time, because you got big factory, big farms where they grow these hogs and fast and all. There's no way you can grow hogs and sell them and make any money. Hardly at all. It'd be a lot of work unless you can do it big. He was talking about small, and but anyhow. So being her mother told her, not to lose these horses, she's doing everything to save keeping these horses. Where my thoughts would be instantly, hey, sell the horses. Let somebody, buy them that can take care of them. And they'd have a better life than me just keeping someone, keeping them in a stall, paying somebody to feed them and clean up after them. But her way of thinking, because she's not all there, is different. And then now, come here, and I've met a couple, and I don't know how old they are. They said they've been together 17 years, and they've got a small girl that's probably too young to be in school, and they got a boy that's 9 years old. And he came over this morning, we talked, he's being homeschooled. Well, last night when I talked with the guy, we were talking, and he had bought a new car a couple years ago. I think he said in 2018, or I think it was 2018. And he was making enough money, no problem. Well, as soon as he bought the car, factory work that closed down. So he couldn't make the car payments. Well, talking with the boy this morning and all, they basically live. He's been homeschooled. He's not going to school, and I know some powerful people was homeschooled. You know, presidents have been homeschooled, but we all know that this day and time, 80% of the kids that are homeschooled, some, 20% straight A kids, smart kids. Kid's smart, don't get me wrong. He's a very smart kid, but sometimes you can get the books and all and go through homeschooling, and they get out of high school there in homeschooling, and they might have a 5th grade education, but they're happy. They're living a good life. I mean, and it's evident when I was with them, that they're not on drugs. And those old people I met that's mentally challenged, not on drugs. Those ones that I met, that was from Ohio, that was down in South Carolina, not on drugs. And I've met some that I felt like were on drugs. But this country used to build everything, and now it doesn't. And every time we go to Walmart, or anytime you buy anything, it's made in China. I don't think people's getting it in their head that every time we buy it, well, China gets the money. I mean, I know we pay American taxes, and that goes back into our government and stuff. And I know our government probably charges a little for it to come across the ocean. But I can tell you right now, China wouldn't be selling it to us unless they were making some money. And if this stuff was made in America, people say, yeah, but they can get it done over there for pennies. Well, the real reason the big companies moved over there is they get bigger tax breaks, too, also. And we would be better off, and they're getting rich. So what would be wrong with giving a big company, and everybody's, oh, well, they should pay all the taxes. Well, if you gave them a zero tax break, no tax pay, look at all the hundreds of people that's out of jobs because they're not available. Everybody can't work at McDonald's. I mean, everybody can't work at Walmart. And when you do, that doesn't make anything. It doesn't make anything at all. But if you was making TVs and stuff here, and the people that there was always super rich people. When this country started, I'm not talking about slavery where people worked for free, and was slaves. There was always super rich people. And then but at least the people working for them was getting a paycheck. And when they went, that paycheck came from money, working, because we were buying the stuff. And then they go out and buy stuff, and that money comes right back into America. So what if it makes a few thousand people super rich? It's doing it anyway. It's just they're doing it, getting it done in another country. Same thing, except we don't have jobs in America. So why don't they just go ahead? I mean, give them a damn tax break and let them, and do everything you can to make them be, to want to be over here. And then we'd have jobs. You say, oh, well, they don't want to work. They got to make so much money. They'll work. It's got to be enough to survive. You got to you can't print free money because we gave all our other money away to other countries, and you just print free money and then send it out to everybody. You can't do that. The value of the dollar keeps cutting down. And I'm not educated, but I kind of understand. I know that if you just keep sending money to other countries, shoot, if they come back and if they wanted it all turned into their money, we just have to our country would have to claim bankrupt. That's all it is to it. I wish I hadn't even started talking about this, because I don't know a thing in the world about politics, but I do know, I got enough sense to know that, and y'all can tell me I'm wrong or whatever, but I do know that there's always been poor people, and there's always been wealthy people. And the wealthy people's going to get wealthy if they have to go to another country to get stuff made, and that's just the way it is. But we got to do something, and it's getting too late. It's getting too late. And everybody that's able to survive is they slowly going down. You think about it. Almost every one of y'all that's going to see this could say that they see it going down. You're still making probably good money, but it's not worth as much as it was. In fact, if it's banked up, it's worth less right now than it was yesterday. And you take that and say worth less than the day before, and less than the day before, and less than the day before, and less than the day before. It's not much, but it's a lot in time. And you'll feel it sooner or later. Some of you will. But anyhow, I might not even put this on my YouTube because I'm just rattling off at the head, but and you can tell me all this stuff, this and that, but until you get out here and you go to these free places in the woods and you go around, you just don't know. You're knowing out of what you seeing on TV or something, I don't know. But when you get out here and you get to really looking and feeling with your heart instead of with your pocket or whatever you're thinking with, just because you got a job don't mean nothing, because that job can move out of town and, yeah, well, I'll go get another job. Well, you might can, but everybody can't. Everybody can't be the manager that makes the most money at General Dollar, you know. There got to be some workers, and that's not even nothing that manufactures nothing. So still, everything they buy, they go spend their money on stuff that's made in another country, and that money gets pushed out of the country over and over and over. Well, it's just one thing. Yeah, you're buying one thing that's made in another country. So is all the rest of the millions of people in America. That runs into a lot of money. You know, we keep thinking, well, it's just this one thing that I bought. I mean, well, almost anything you buy is from another country. But it's everybody. Everybody. We all surviving and we all buying stuff, and it's all, I wonder, I mean, is it 50%? I mean, go buy a washing machine. China made it. How much money goes to China? Well, you know, guy in America, he owns the company. Yeah, that's right. But he didn't have to pay nobody in America to get it built. So I'm just saying, we can keep setting back. What can I do about it? Probably nothing. You know, I can't run for politics. I don't even understand politics. But I do have enough sense to see what I'm seeing. And I do know, if you'll go back in history, everything just about it that was invented back then in America. Everything about started in America. This country was thriving. Oh, they're just so lazy they don't work. No. What happened? They moved to another country to get them made cheaper. Yeah. But also remember hearing about the tax breaks and stuff. They got better if they went over there because they were getting taxed so much. I don't see nothing wrong with a wealthy man getting wealthier in our country just so we got workers. I mean, the worker people have jobs to make money in America. I don't see nothing wrong with that, because they're still getting rich. They wouldn't have moved over there if they weren't getting rich. So go ahead and come up with all your conclusions and all and change my mind for me, but I'm just telling you what I've seen. Yeah, and that's what I see. Now, I've had so many people tell me one thing and another, but they've not come out here and looked. They're just talking out their ass, really. So am I. But at least my ass has been out on the road looking, and your ass sitting there watching CNN and stuff telling you how wonderful it is. It's not. It's not wonderful. You go under bridges and all. Oh, well, it's the immigrants come across. Well, don't get me wrong, that's killing our nation. But I'm not seeing immigrants that's blonde headed with gray beards and stuff living under bridges at 75 years old, or I said blonde, gray hair. These are people that's lost their homes because Social Security ain't even enough to survive. And they didn't make any money before that anyway, so they drawing as small as it gets, and the money ain't worth nothing. Because give yourself $700. Start right now. Give yourself $700 a month. And I mean seriously, try it for 1 year. Anybody can do it for 1 month. I heard a preacher one time said that the Lord told him, instead of giving 10% to the church, he was preaching to the congregation. He said, Lord, I gave the Lord 90% and kept 10% that month. Well, anybody can do something like that for 1 month. That's just 30 days. I thought to myself when I heard him, I was sitting in there, and I heard him say that, and I thought to myself, and I was a young man, and I thought to myself, I bet he didn't try it the second month. And he didn't say he tried it the second month. And he didn't say how much money he had banked up from the past that he might have used. Did he really survive on the 10%? Or did he kind of pull back with some money he had saved up? But that's what I'm saying. You try it for a while. Try to live on $700 like a person with a real low income job and then switches to Social Security. See if you can figure out how to survive making your payments and everything else that you have to pay. And then suck it up and try to say that oh, that person, they don't need to make no more money an hour than this or that. And if you do that, you don't have a heart. But anyway, I'm through talking like that now. I'm not going to talk about bad things. There's more I could talk about. I've actually sat here and tried not to talk about some of it because I know everyone that I have ever told what I see in person. I always comes up with all these reasons why it's their fault. And sometimes it is their fault, but it's not always their fault. Some of them just never had the chance. Some of them are workers and the jobs moved out from them. And that's why all these towns, I'm telling you, if you'll do what I do and just take the back road, don't run through the big cities. I know big cities you're going to see homeless people, but you're going to see cars going everywhere and big buildings that look beautiful, and you're just like, well, they just want to be like that. But look how many are doing great. Look at all these fast cars and all that. But when you go out in the country and you go through all these small towns and you see that they're just disintegrated, and I've talked with people and they can come up with every reason in the world. Well, that right there town was blah blah. Well, if you get there and talking with some of the old people that remember when the town looked brand new and everything was always thriving and stuff, they always tell you of some company that moved out and it went overseas. They do it over and over and over. Anything from steel to whatever, they just about every company they talk about went overseas. It didn't just move down the road to another state. It moved out and it's gone. And it's sad. And I like going on these trips, but it brings me up to look at this nature and all, and tears me down to see that. And it's rough. It's rough because honestly, I'm doing okay. I'm doing this for an adventure, and they doing it because they have to. And there's a big difference between that. I can go without a bath 6 days. I stink. Maybe that'll keep the bears away or whatever. But when I want to, I can rent a room and take a bath. I ain't saying I can go buy a castle or nothing. I'm just saying I'm getting by. But it, and I know the world can change so quick, and that would be the end of me having fun. But just like that was the end of them having fun. And but at least I've noticed something like these little kids. They're just like all other kids. They're out here playing. They don't realize what's going on. They don't realize they're homeless. You know, they don't realize none of that. They're playing, running, hollering, just like all kids do. Because you know what? They can pick up a stick and one of these here, whatever I keep hearing fault. It's a hard ball. I don't know. Throw it up and hit it. Pow! Yay! Just like any kid that's got a nice pair of shoes. You know. So I'm glad that kids don't realize what shape they're in. They just got a way of being a kid no matter what. All right, y'all. Later. I got to go somewhere where I got phone service.